Now, you imagine you're asleep and your phone starts going off, and it's not ransomware, it's not a hurricane, it's your building is literally burning down. That's pretty harsh. That would be a tough one to take. I mean, just imagine if you tried to go to the place where you worked. If you're one of the employees who wasn't on the call list and maybe you hadn't heard, you go to your place of work and there's just fire trucks everywhere and the building is, ash or, hopefully they got it put out, whatever. That would be pretty crazy to even deal with. And you see there that 40% of businesses do not reopen after a fire disaster. And that's true even more so for smaller businesses that may only have one location, fewer employees. They don't have the sustainability of some larger organizations. So this particular instance was a Midwestern manufacturing company, been around for a while. They did, their manufacturing was there in this building that caught fire. Their IT hub, so their data center, if you will, was in this building where they had the fire, and it all got hit. So, Stephen, this was similar. It came in overnight, not by design. It's just, something shorted out or there was a fire. We don't know the exact details of it, but they called us with basically nowhere to go. The servers were inaccessible. They may have been melted. We don't know, right?
Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and just lay it out there. This customer's worst nightmare came true that day. They got that phone call 3 o'clock in the morning. One of their machines had an electrical issue, started a fire, burnt the entire building down, including all servers, computers, nothing was left. The customer called us about 6 a.m., letting us know they did have a fire. It destroyed their entire building, including their internal infrastructure. So our support team went into what they trained to do every day. They went ahead and spun the customer up, again, with our automated scripts that we run in the background, basically kicked off the process. We had this customer up within SLA. They never closed their doors. I mean, how impressive is that? Your building burns down. You rely on a BCDR company to get you up. We delivered. You didn't have to shut your doors one time. So whenever you do have a disaster in this nature, you have to understand that your equipment is gone. Your switches, your SANs, your servers, it doesn't exist anymore. So what we do on the BCDR team is we go ahead and spin it up into our infrastructure, provide you with VPN access, and then your customers would connect via the VPN to our infrastructure, and it's business as usual. So one thing that you have to remember is after the fire, after you locate a new building, after you get new equipment, then at that point, we work with the customer to get the data fed back into their new infrastructure. Because you have to understand, like I said before, there's no infrastructure, so you have to purchase all new equipment. So we went ahead and worked with this customer. So thankfully, we were able to get them up, get them filled back. And those 100 employees still have a job today because we were able to get them up and running. As you mentioned, 40% of businesses do not reopen after a fire or disaster. Luckily, we were there to help this customer get them up and going so that there was no impact to their business, and they continue to operate today.
This is something that businesses struggle with sometimes is how do I guarantee that I can keep my services running without having to maintain a second location? When you think of DR, old school thoughts of DR, right? I'm old. You'd have to have a second location. You'd have to have servers or very similar equipment in a second location. You'd either have to take backup tapes to that location and be prepared to do restores that way, which could take forever, assuming that they actually worked on tape. You'd have to maintain the cost of all that, plus keep it updated and patched and everything else. So the disaster recovery as a service and the cloud solution that we offer is a great alternative because it just folds into your OpEx costs of your business. You don't have to worry about anything from a hardware and software perspective at that point.